The small town of Hillcrest was one of those places where life moved slowly, where people knew each other's names and the air always carried the scent of pine and soil. Mia had only recently returned to her grandmother's cabin after losing her job in the city. She wasn't used to this kind of quiet. It unnerved her. Mia was independent, strong. But when her car broke down on a back road 20 miles from town, that strength faltered for the first time in months. The cold wind picked up and her phone had no signal. She had two choices: stay and hope someone passed by, or walk. She chose to walk. After an hour of trudging along the road, shivering in her thin jacket, headlights finally appeared. A rusty old pickup truck pulled over beside her. "You all right?" the man asked, leaning across the passenger seat. He had a strong jaw, dark eyes, and rough hands that looked like they had fixed 1,000 engines. He looked about 30, rugged, worn down in a good way. "You need a ride?" She hesitated. "Yeah, my car's dead. I've been walking since sunset." He nodded. "Get in. It's freezing." She climbed in, uncertain. "Thanks. I'm Mia." "Jake," he said. "I live just past Pine Hollow. I fix up old cars for people who can't afford the mechanic in town." "Good people still exist," she muttered, more to herself than to him. He glanced over with a quiet chuckle. "Not many. But yeah, some of us try." They rode in silence for a few miles. The heater was blasting, and the warmth seeped into her bones. For the first time in days she felt safe. When they reached her grandmother's cabin, Mia invited him inside for tea. He refused twice, but on the third offer he nodded. Inside, the fire was cold, and the power had gone out from the storm earlier. Jake helped start the fire, fixed the leaking window pane, and even got her generator working without asking for a dime. "Why are you helping me?" she asked finally, as they sat near the crackling fire. He shrugged. "'Cause you needed it." Her gaze dropped to her lap. "I'm not used to that." Jake looked at her. Really looked. "You've had some bad luck." "Bad men," she corrected. "City guys. Take what they want, then disappear." Jake was silent for a moment. "Well, I'm not them." "I know." Her voice was soft, thoughtful. "That's why I want to thank you." "You already did," he said. "No," she whispered. "Not like I mean it." She stood slowly, stepping into the firelight. Her sweater slipped off her shoulder. Jake froze, confused. "Mia," he said, cautious. "I heard once," she began, her fingers trembling, "that real women thank real men when they're helped, when they're protected. When someone makes them feel safe." Jake looked away. "You don't owe me anything." She stepped closer. "I know. But I want to. Because no one's ever made me feel like this. I thought I had to fight alone." He swallowed hard. "You don't have to do this." "I know," she repeated. "But I want to. Not because I'm paying you. 'Cause I respect you. Because I see you." Jake looked up, and for a long moment they said nothing. Then, slowly, he stood and gently reached for her hand. "I'm not going to touch you unless you know exactly what you want," he said, his voice steady. "I want kindness," she whispered. "And to be looked at like a human, not a toy." Jake nodded, and without a word, he wrapped her in a blanket from the couch. "You're cold," he said softly. Tears welled up in her eyes. They didn't make love that night. They sat by the fire. She in his arms, he brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. They talked, really talked, about their parents, their dreams, their mistakes. She told him about the city life that broke her down. He told her about losing his brother in the war, and why he'd never left this town. The next morning, he cooked breakfast using the generator-powered stove. She laughed for the first time in months. 3 months later, the snow had melted, and spring was beginning to blossom. Jake had fixed Mia's car, helped her find part-time work, and visited her often. Their bond had grown, not rushed by passion, but deepened by presence, time, and trust. One day, while they were walking along the edge of the woods, Mia turned to him. "You remember that night I tried to thank you the wrong way?" He smiled. "You don't have to explain." "I want to," she said, "because I thought love was something you had to offer up like a transaction. I didn't understand that real connection grows slowly." Jake took her hand. "And now?" She looked at him, her eyes full of quiet strength. "Now I want to take off my clothes for the right reason. Not to thank you for fixing something, but because I love the man you are." He stepped closer. "Mia, I love you too. I loved you when you told me your truth by the fire. I loved you when you handed me your trust like a fragile glass, afraid it would break." That night, in the cabin where their story began, they undressed, not as strangers repaying debts, but as two souls choosing each other. It was tender, slow, and respectful. It was not about gratitude. It was about belonging. A year later, the small cabin was now surrounded by a blooming garden. Mia had started an online store, selling handmade jewelry. Jake had expanded his car repair work, with a proper garage behind the house. And one evening, as the sun set behind the hills, he got down on one knee in the very spot where he once restarted her generator. "Mia, you once thanked me with fear in your eyes. Now I want to thank you for teaching me how to love without needing to fix something." She cried, laughed, and said yes. And when they kissed, it wasn't because either of them needed to say thank you. It was because both of them had finally found home. Then, bookmark hashtags. Hashtag emotional romance, hashtag heartfelt story, hashtag slow burn love, hashtag trust and healing, hashtag respectful love, hashtag love beyond gratitude, hashtag small town romance, hashtag kindness matters, hashtag second chances, hashtag healing through love. Memo description. When Mia's car breaks down on a cold rural road, a quiet mechanic named Jake helps her without asking for anything in return. Moved by his kindness, Mia attempts to thank him in the only way she's ever known, through her body. But Jake's response is not what she expected. As their connection deepens, both begin a journey of healing, respect, and real love that neither thought possible. A tender tale of finding safety, growing trust, and discovering what it really means to love and be loved.